You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground, rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds, whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside, a treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground, rumors fly and they can't be
Winter reveals the hidden lie. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
all the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground, rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Hillbilly Crime. If you've not been here before, you've been missing out because this is where we got all the tea from Kentucky. My name is Elizabeth, and Sweet Tater's supposed to be here with us, but she hasn't come yet, so we'll wait for her to get here. How is everybody? I hope everybody's doing good. I always have to go in here and fix my stuff once we get started. There we go. All right. So, how is everybody? Beth Richards. Hey, hey. Dave Clifton. Elizabeth Finger Red #1. Let's see. Kelly Wigglesworth. Catching Alive. Yeah. Glad you're here. Glad you guys are here. Let's see. I didn't go back far enough either there. Yes. On your way in, hit that like button for us. It helps us a whole lot. It gets us out to a larger audience. And one of the things that we talk a lot about is corruption, white collar crime, that a lot of this stuff I personally believe is organized crime. I think there's RICO statutes that could be utilized all over the place. All right. Got us a goal started. So anybody that wants to help support our channel, we cannot do it without your support. Couldn't happen, because I got bills I got to pay. And I spend a whole lot of money on this. So help us out if you can. And if you can't, just glad you're here. Just glad you're here. Let's see. I'm going to pull up. I'm learning. I'm learning. Cover-ups and favors. So, if you want to look there, in one corner, top left-hand corner, you see Judge Mullins. He was the district judge here in Letcher County that was pew-pewed by our sheriff and unalived. And there have been many accusations, but there's not been any investigation. There have been whispers and rumors about the judge's conduct for years and years. And not just the judge's conduct. There have been rumors and whispers about the judge's chambers for many, many decades. Now, from what I've found out, dug up, we used to have a judge that's name was Larry Collins. And Larry Collins was, he did not like women. Just be careful how I say that. He was attracted to the other stuff, gender. And there have been, and he has went through some criminal charges of his own. We're going to do a whole show on Larry Collins some other time. And I'm not prepared to do that right now. So we're not going to go into Larry Collins all that much. Other than everywhere I go, somebody is always bringing up Larry Collins and how I need to check into him. And I need to look back at what was going on back then. Now, I have developed several credible sources. Now, one of my sources was a former employee of the Letcher County Jail at one point in time. And it was back many years ago, many years ago. Judge Mullins was not the judge at this time. And so that also means there was a different jailer at the time. He said that he had just gotten hired, had not been there long, and he was given the detail, like laundry detail for the women. And so he went to the cell. He got the girl, whoever was the laundry girl. They went to the laundry, wherever it was at, and said that she went ahead and started doing the laundry, putting it all in and everything. And then she walks up to him and just drops her drawers. And he says he's mortified. What are you doing? And she's like, what? This is the normal thing? What's wrong with you? And he was like, absolutely not. And he made her get her stuff together, said that he took her back to the cell, put her in, and he never, ever put himself in that position again. He never took another female out to laundry. And I asked him, you didn't tell anybody? You didn't say anything to your bosses or whatever? And he was like, no. He said, hell no, I didn't. And I said, why? And he said that he was afraid. He didn't know who knew about it and who didn't, right? Obviously, if this situation is happening to him, it must be, kind of like a regular thing. It's kind of like, and it reminds me of what Sabrina and Jennifer Hill said in their interviews about Ben, that they had heard the rumors, and that detective kept trying to frame it, which makes all of us really upset every time we listen to it. But he kept trying to frame it. And he was the one that was laying the narrative. She would go to tell him something and he would stop her and say, so you saw an opportunity. So you saw an opportunity to not pay for your bracelet, to not go back to jail. So you saw an opportunity to get some money, huh? Like she was the bad guy in all of this. Just blows me away in how they framed that. I don't see how that is not witness tampering. I don't see how it's not. By the way that he reacted to what she said, and then how he would always jump in and say, oh, well, you saw the opportunity, so you were flirting with him. And at no time were you fearful, or, like he would craft his question in a way that she would answer the way that he wanted her to. And we know that they do that with suspects. We know they do that with suspects. We know they lie. We know that they employ those techniques where they're all buddy with There's some people that was playing devil's advocate when I had a problem with his buddy thing with Ben. But it was more than he was being buddy. It was more like, listen, just swallow it and get it over with. Tell the truth. They ain't nothing gonna happen to you. Like he was trying to save him from making it worse. We've all heard the cover-up makes it worse. The cover-up's usually worse than the crime. But who is doing all these cover-ups? Okay, let's take the judge under Mullins in the picture. So that's the judge that we were talking about last week at Judge Hall. He is from Pike County. Thank you, Miss Connie. He's from Pike County, right next door to us. Now, he first had a public reprimand for his behavior on the bench by the Judicial Commission, I think is who it was. And, they pretty much there were several things in that reprimand that they were unhappy with his conduct over. And then the following week, and I remember thinking when we read the reprimand, I was like, oh, well, he had a paper criticizing his conduct put out, but he didn't have any kind of disciplinary recommendations or anything. Like, there wasn't anything going to happen to him other than we're putting out this piece of paper saying that he needs to do better. And that's pretty much basically what the reprimand was. That's how I perceived it anyway. And then the following week, the shoe dropped. And it was an indictment, a federal indictment on Judge Hall. Judge Hall is facing decades behind in prison. And what he basically did was he paid, it just doesn't make any sense either, unless it's part of a bigger criminal thing. Ring. So, because I think that that's what we've got right here in our county, and I'll never say anything different. So he was paying, or well, he wasn't paying. It wasn't his money. He wasn't paying that money out of his pocket. So who cares? That's how a lot of people around here feel about this kind of stuff. It ain't coming out of their pocket. Scratch each other's backs. We all got access to all this money, this funding. It's not like they can go down to the bank and pull out a $5,000 check in cash and go buy lawn equipment with it or something. There has to be more of an elaborate, a purposeful hiding. It's called embezzlement, I think. I'm no lawyer, so I don't know exactly what it would be, but I think that's what it would be, is embezzlement, money laundering. There are many crimes that I think all of them down there at jail should have been at least investigated for. Just those 3 charges that old Ben had to bite the bullet. That's kind of like that's how I feel, getting back to the Matt Easter thing. That's kind of how I feel like he was basically leading him through his interview. Just bite the bullet. Because he already knew. He knew before he ever spoke to the first victim. He knew how he had to play this. He absolutely knew. Now, the big POV, the big point of this video is, who knows about these cover-ups? How far up do they go? Does Andy Bashir know? Or is he happy with the way that southeastern Kentucky is making him look right now? I wonder if he's reached out to any of these leaders. I don't even know. Okay. Just crazy. Okay, so anyway, Judge Hall orders, I guess. I don't know. Assigns. Maybe that's the right word. An assistant prosecuting attorney under him. And this assistant is supposed to work so many hours for part-time. I think it was 100 hours a month is what they were supposed to work. And they were going to get paid, including their benefits, including their health insurance that they got for, like, this scheme went on 10 years or longer or something. Like, it was a long time scheme. Well, hell, they didn't have to worry about where their health insurance was coming from. They had full benefits. They had employer matching benefits. I guess that would be your 401k or whatever. But including their benefit, they were making over $500,000 a year. And they came to find out whenever they investigated this and whenever they went to look, I guess they must have done a forensic accounting of their financing for that office. And they found that this lawyer never worked. Well, I think they said that they might have done a little, like, something here or there. I forget exactly how they worded it, but it made it, the way that I took what they said was that they may have done a little something here or there, but other than that, they didn't do anything for this pay. They have left this person unidentified. They're not naming them. Now, why would Judge Hall do that? Any guesses? Why would Judge Hall give somebody that much money for nothing? For no work. And you know their office needed an assistant attorney. You know they did. So who was helping in the prosecutor's office all those years when he needed an assistant? Were there more than one assistant assigned to that office? And what about the county? Is there nobody that even looks at those kinds of things? Like, whenever he assigned that position to this person, to this assistant attorney, did he have to get that approved by somebody? Or obviously he would only get so much money, so much funding to run that office a year, I'm assuming. I don't know how they do that. But who would be responsible for that budget? Is that him? Would that be the county attorney's job to do that budget? These kinds of questions are very important. The answers to them pretty much tell us what's going on. But they make it so hard to get the answers. Allegedly, Lisa. That's right, Sissy. It's free to hit the like button. I'm going to let this dog out or she won't stop. Oh. Forgot my kid was in there. All right, let's see. Dave Clifton. Doesn't make sense. Nope, it don't. Ain't none of it makes any sense. Sure don't. RC. Mail fraud. Yes, he got indicted. That was one of his charges, was mail fraud. He had to approve payment by the state. The written approval is mailed. Thank you, RC. Yes, Marnie, 240 in the house and only 100 likes. Smash that like button for us, y'all. It only takes a second. Hello, honey. Hello, honey. Miss Connie. That's right. Backwoods, Georgia girl. Closed-ended questions. Yes or no answers. That's not investigating. That's scripting the narrative. It sure is. Yep. Allegedly, Lisa, he was re-victimizing her. That's a great point. He absolutely was. Absolutely was. And the sad part about it, her lawyer was there every time. Old Ned Pillersdorf sat right there and just chit-chatted away. He knew. He knew. Why wasn't the jail and the judge, it was his chambers that this was happening in? How come Mickey was held responsible as the sheriff, as his employer, that he should have known, that he did know or he should have known, and not trying? How come he was named, but the judge wasn't? Even though it was his chambers that this happened in. And I'm not a lawyer, remember, but it seems to me that that would open that door. You know, like if somebody gets bit by a dog on my property, that still brings me into it. But so many times we see that deals are made behind the scenes, and law enforcement, the legal system, if you really think about it, it's the only area, I guess it's a good word. It's the only area that allows for so much wrongdoing. Like even when it comes to disciplinary actions. Well, from what I see, anytime that people are given any kind of disciplinary actions, it's like a slap on the wrist. They're not real serious unless they've just done something like old Murdaugh, right? He ain't getting his license back. But there have been several instances where I've found information through research and all this stuff where people got disbarred or suspended. One of these that we're getting ready to look at here in a minute, the boy was found to violate like 3 or 4 different 3 or 4 different violations is what he had as a lawyer. And he petitioned the bar, I guess is who it was, he petitioned for his own punishment. Like he was saying, here, I think you guys should just suspend me for 30 days and put me on probation for a year. And they accepted it. And I've just not seen stuff like that before. James Wiley Craft, our old mayor here and former prosecutor at one time. The game always stays the same, y'all. The game is the same. The only thing that changes are the players. But he got disbarred for something that he had done. And it looked to me like they gave it right back to him and reinstated him a week later. Well, it might have been a little bit longer than that, but it wasn't very long. It wasn't very long at all. Not at all. And then we've got the preacher man there. Where is the investigation into his alleged actions? From what I have found out through my research and through umpteen different sources, allegedly he wasn't no better than Ben Fields. Only difference, he was not a law enforcement member. But what was he? He was a community liaison for ARC Rehab. Where did he work? Well, looks to me like he worked in Letcher County Courthouse, in the courtroom. So anytime a defendant was a candidate for rehab and they needed a bed to get out of jail, they had to go through him. He's the one getting their bed. Well, how well does that work out when you're hitting on all the clients? Allegedly. How does that work out when you really be in IRV pay? When you walk out on a stage with a microphone in your hand, preaching God and recovery and redemption. But in the background, you ain't no better than Ben Fields. That's still taking advantage of very vulnerable people. And what if they don't? What if they don't do what they want them to do? Then they don't get out of jail? They don't go to rehab? How's that any different than the house arrest system? How's that any different? Because I don't think it is. Many of these girls, it didn't matter which way they turned, they had an IRV pay in their face that they had to pay a toll. And if you don't pay the toll, then you stay in jail, in the Letcher County jail. Now, Ned Pillersdorf called it a brothel. But I beg to differ, because a brothel, the women have their freedom. In a brothel, they're at least performing their services because they want to, or at least they should be. Because if they're not, what's that called? Sex trafficking is exactly what that's called. And I'm the only one that's saying it. You don't have anybody else calling this crap for what it is. Why? For what? Why? It's like, you know, you put a lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. They saw an opportunity. Oh, yeah, that's what Easter said. So the girls had the power, right? That's what you're saying? These women were in control. They were the ones that trapped poor, pitiful little old Ben. Oh, homely looking thing. It was these defendants' fault. It was these inmates' fault. It was these prostitute pro-pays fault. They trapped him. It's like Monopoly, the board game. Well, you know, it's kind of hard. It is kind of hard when you've got stuff on camera, when you've got proof. And you know what's so sad? All of it's sad. But you know what's really bad? Is that you've got all these times that these people felt confident, arrogant, what's the other word I'm looking for? Entitled, protected, that it didn't even matter if they put their big mug on camera and let people see what they was doing. Because nothing's going to be done. Now, I know, Miss Tasha, there have been a whole lot. There have been a whole lot of women, co-workers. It ain't just clients. Oh, no. It ain't just the rug addicts, y'all. I know some of y'all out there, usually not the ones that watch our show, though. It's usually people that don't watch our show. But there's people out there that want to say, oh, the rug addicts. It's just the rug addicts. You can't believe nothing that they say. Oh, no. If it was just the rug addicts, no, honey, it's your co-workers. It's your own family members. It's some of your best friends that look you right dead in the face and smile. And as soon as your back is turned, they're calling me. There's a lot of people that don't condone any of this behavior. There's more out here that don't condone it than do. Lawyers go where the money's at. And that's not a dig on the lawyers. I mean, they've got to make a living. I understand that. Absolutely. But, you know, and everybody deserves a defense. That's part of our criminal justice system. But when you can no longer trust the system, because you don't know if your lawyer has already sold you out. They've already discussed your case back in the break room with everybody that sits there at that big table. Did you see all them people in that video? Yeah, we saw who all sits in there. You got Ben's wife sitting in there. The judge, the prosecutor, the bailiffs, the rehab guys, the sheriff. They're all in there. You think they don't talk about these cases? You think that they don't side with their friends over someone that they just don't like or don't get along with? Miss Christie, I don't know about Kentucky statutes, but the laws would dictate hiring policies, etc. So those are available. I guess that was talking about the hiring stuff. Backwoods, Georgia girl. So who was Ben's boss as the bailiff? Was it the judge or was it Mickey? Well, that's a really good question. Technically, it was Mickey, hired through the sheriff's department as court security. He said he went to a 2-week training for court security. Mickey's the one that said he was grandfathered in, so he didn't even have to do that because he had worked there for so long that by the time that they made that rule, he had already been there long enough. He didn't have to do it. Ben was also not, from what I understand, unless I have this wrong, Ben was not allowed to be arresting anybody outside of the courthouse. He only had authority to do that in the courtroom, like in the courthouse. He wasn't allowed to like jump in a cruiser and go across the county and arrest people, unless I have that wrong. But that's the way that I understand that. He wasn't allowed to do that. Well, how many times did he do that? And that's just completely looked over. Nobody says a word about it. There's no investigation into any of that. Like, they're not even bringing focus to any of that. There's no investigation into the higher-ups that Sabrina said there are videos of. I've seen one myself. So, yes, there are out there. And there's a lot more than what I've seen. A whole lot of people are married. So they probably deleted it as soon as they got it. But how could they get around that? They could do a search warrant on the dude's phone. Then they're going to get everyone he sent. You don't have to have all the girls' names. You don't have to know who they are before you do that. You check him. And it's going to be on there, I promise you. Snapchat, from what I've learned, has been a really popular communication asset if you're trying to hide stuff. Several women have told me that that was the only way they were allowed to communicate with some people who still sit awful high and mighty. And then they went back and deleted everything and deleted all their Snapchat contacts. Everybody. And this fourth feller, I've saved the best for last. So let's look at what his job is. Now, this guy is from Pike County. His name is Woody Pruitt. It says he was a polygraph examiner. So he was a polygraph examiner for Pike County? For this area? Wow. So it says that he conducted phase 1 testing and phase 2 testing. That's what he was responsible for. Well, I'd like to know phase of what? Phase 1 and phase 2 of what? I don't know. I haven't found that part out yet. But he's a polygraph examiner here in Pike County. There was an internal investigation into Mr. Woody. And as soon as the investigation was initiated, he immediately resigned. He didn't want to answer no questions. He didn't want no part of it. So I started digging in to Mr. Woody Pruitt and what the accusations were. Well, Mr. Pruitt apparently likes to play pocket pool. And he likes to do it on camera, where he can be seen playing pocket pool. Now, this is pretty bad, right? A member of law enforcement goes around and gathers up all the evidence against Mr. Pruitt. Now, Mr. Pruitt no longer works for the state of Kentucky. And apparently, from what has been reported by his superiors, that they have taken actions that he will not ever be able to work for them again, or for any. The way that I think I understood it, he's not allowed to work for any more. But it also stated that as soon as he resigned, the investigation into him stopped. So there would not be any further disciplinary action taken against him. Now, usually, what this man did is a crime, I think. I mean, I don't know. I'm no lawyer. I'm no member of law enforcement, so I can't say that it is a crime. But I really think it should be if it ain't. Because you can't go out in public and do what Mr. Woody Pruitt allegedly did. And it's not, I don't even know if I have to say allegedly, because I've seen it with my own eyes. So, why was there not a criminal investigation initiated into him? So once the internal investigation was pretty much threw away when he resigned, Why wasn't there a criminal investigation started? And when you have this kind of behavior, I don't think it just started at 67 years old, you guys. I don't think it starts late in life. I think it starts way younger. So just imagine if this man was old enough to retire, he still gets to, I'm assuming that he still gets to keep all of his benefits. Oh, yes, backwards Georgia girl, it is bad. I've seen it. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. I've seen preacher mans. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. And I keep preaching. I keep preaching. This is a culture. This is a culture of sickness, and it's in our justice system. And I think that that's terrifying, absolutely terrifying, that we have such a openly accepted, like this has got to be accepted by our leaders. I don't know how it can be anything but, because they're all covering it all up. They all want to keep it hush hush. They all want to keep it quiet. Here's this another one. Now this guy, I've got a couple things here I'm going to read. So this is also in Pike County. A trial involving a man charged with the red rum of his wife has been pushed back. Now, this was in December of 2024. Do you know who this man is? This is the former prosecutor for Pike County. This is the former county attorney. Former assistant Pike County attorney Donald Kyle Deskins was originally expected to appear in court December 9th, but that date has been reassigned to next year. Deskins is accused of red rumming his wife, Judith Dawn Deskins, in 2021 and tampering with physical evidence. A motion was submitted by Deskins and his attorney, Steve Owens, citing new evidence collected by the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, saying they needed more time to review the information before appearing in court. According to court documents, the new date for trial is May 12th, 2025 at 9 a.m. in Pike Circuit Court. Allison Wells, who is a special judge in Pike Circuit Court, signed the order. The court order also said the case is assigned for a pretrial conference in May in the Perry Circuit courtroom. And then I have an article that we're going to read on it. So this case, it already went to trial, and I think it was a mistrial. So they are trying him again. But I am absolutely shocked. Completely shocked that they even indicted him in the first place. Miss Tammy, I just got your stuff and I'll look at it tonight, okay? Let me pull up this article here. I spoke with somebody, and just to go back to the polygrapher, would that have been the polygraph guy? Would that have been the guy? Like, whose polygraphs did he give? Did he give polygraphs to people during investigations, like suspects? Did he conduct suspect polygraphs? Or did he give polygraphs to like new employees? It said phase 1 and phase 2, but it didn't say of what. So if anybody knows the answer to that, let me know, because I'm a little confused on that one. And it was this last one. Former assistant county attorney's red rum trial underway. A trial for Donald Kyle Deskins, a former assistant county attorney. This was from, let me just tell you whose article this is. It's News Express. And it was July 12th, 2024. So this was of the last trial, but it gives a whole lot of really, really good detailed information. This article gave the most details that I could find. He is accused of the violent whooping death of his wife. Began July 8th in Pike Circuit Court. The investigation into the death of Judith Dawn Deskins, this is her beautiful face right there, began after Kyle Deskins, 49, called Pike County 911 on April 24th, 2021, and reported his wife was deceased in the residence at Meat House Road in Kemper. 2 years later, he was indicted on charges of red rum. 2 years later, he probably thought he would get away with it. DV, domestic violence, a Class A felony carrying a penalty of 20 to 50 years and or life in prison, and 2 counts of tampering with physical evidence. Class D felonies punishable by 1 to 5 years in jail each. The indictment filed against Kyle Deskins in August of 2023 reads, Donald K. Deskins committed the offense of red rum by causing blunt force trauma to Judith D. Deskins with the intent to cause her death, or under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to human life, wantonly engaged in conduct which created a grave risk of death to another, and thereby caused the death of Judith D. Deskins. Because of Kyle Deskins' employment with the Pike County Attorney's Office, a special judge, Perry Circuit Judge Allison Wells, and a special prosecutor, Floyd County Commonwealth's Attorney Floyd Anthony Skeens. That's not really very far away, though. Floyd County is right next to door, and they sit in for each other all the time. Like, all of these people are friends. These judges, they all know each other, and they're friends. even if they're not like buddy friends, like this bunch around here, even if they're not friends to that extent, they still have that professional courtesy for each other. Like if one judge comes into another judge's house, which is pretty much the way that they look at that, that's their house. And so somebody's coming in as a visitor, like I'm coming in as a visitor to somebody else's house. I better take my shoes off. You know what I'm saying? They're going to know what that judge who had to recuse himself or was removed or whatever, the reason, they're going to know what that judge wants them to do. I mean, that's only common sense that at some point they would have that discussion. At least I think they do. I don't see how they wouldn't. Or I just don't. I don't see it happening. And all we have to do is look at the sentences that these special judges have given. Ben got 6 months in jail by a special judge. Patrick Little, which he's not a member of law enforcement, but he is a chomo who got no jail time. And that was given by our own judge, which I'm really disappointed in. I mean, I'm sure they could care less if I like anybody or not. Like, they don't care about me, you can be sure. Nobody's ever asked me my opinion on anything. But I've always liked, well, I mean, he's always been nice to me, so I didn't have any reason not to like him. But I'm very disappointed in some of these, decisions that our other judges made. Like, I think that was a really, really bad thing that they did with the little case. I think it was negotiated and worked up long in advance. I think that there were so many things done wrong in that case that if anybody ever looked at it, like appeal wise, I don't see how it would even stand. I don't. And that's sad because he took a plea deal. He's guilty. He's guilty. But because you had a whole bunch of people's hands in it, doing things that they shouldn't have done, I don't know how it would stand up. But I'm no lawyer, so maybe it just stand up just fine, right on its own 2 feet. It has so far. But, that's the problem. If nobody knows, and nobody knows what to do to have other people look at it and make sure that it's even legal, make sure it's even proper, you might have all kinds of craziness going on, filed in that courthouse up there. Because nobody knew any better. They just make it up as they go along. Depending on what their motivation is. Okay. He committed the red rum by causing blunt force trauma to his wife with the intent to cause her death or under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to human life, wantonly engaged in conduct which created a grave risk of death to another and thereby caused the death of Judith Deskins. Because of his employment with the Pike County's Office Special Judge Perry, Circuit Judge Allison Wells. Oh, I already read that. Okay. The trial is currently ongoing with testimony continuing on Friday, July 12th. Deskins said he believes the case will be presented to the jury for deliberation on July 15th. Donald Kyle Deskins unalived his wife, Deskins told the jury during his opening statements. They had multiple marital troubles and some suspected infidelity. At first, everybody thought addiction had caught up with her, but the evidence will show that Judith Dawn Deskins died of multiple blunt force traumas to her head. Somebody hit her over and over and broke her neck, he continued. She was alive, well and healthy at 2 a.m., but was dead with a broken neck by 8 a.m. Autopsy reports indicate Dawn Deskins died from multiple blunt force trauma, with rugs and a heart attack being contributing factors. There was no history of DV between Mr. and Mrs. Deskins, Owens countered in his opening statement. But there was between her and her boyfriend, who was a convicted rug reeler, who died a few months after Dawn Deskins' death. As to the motive, was it financial? No, he didn't have enough money to bury her, Owens continued. Jealousy? Nope. This has been going on for a while, and Mr. Deskins knew about it. They do not have evidence to prove it was him. No weapon was ever found, and even his mother-in-law will say he didn't do it. Deskins told the jury in his opening statement that this would be a circumstantial case. According to testimony offered by former KSP Detective Jacob Dustin Thompson and the couple's son, the child first found his mother unresponsive in the bedroom where she slept. In recorded statements given by Kyle Deskins to Thompson, Dawn Deskins left their residence the prior evening to go to her boyfriend's house and returned around 2 a.m. on the morning of her death. He said he spoke to her for about 10 minutes and then went to his bedroom where he remained until his son woke him. Oh, okay. Thompson said at first it was believed that Dawn Deskins was the victim of an OD death. While detectives rarely work an OD death, he said he was assigned to the case because of Kyle Deskins' position as an assistant county attorney. And I'll just throw out a theory. What if he's really innocent, but he pissed off the wrong people? When you cross the wrong people, what happened to Karen Reed, the trial we're watching right now? And I have some friends that are in the legal community that are my friends. And some of my friends do not believe that this man is even guilty. They think he's innocent. Can you imagine? I can imagine. Oh, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine some really, really dirty politics. See you later. What are you saying over here? The plea agreement was reached between Dameron, Daniel Dotson of Whitesburg and Pike Commonwealth's attorney, Rick Bartley. I think I missed what you was talking about. Oh, okay, here it is. Dameron will serve 5 years in prison with no chance of parole or probation under a plea agreement reached in Letcher Circuit Court. Are you talking about Brian Dameron? Honey, he's already out. Former Letcher County Deputy Sheriff Brian Dameron was released from prison 2 weeks short of serving 1 full year of a 5-year prison term for theft. Exactly. And they didn't let him serve his year here in Letcher County. They sent him to Harlan County, where he got, from what I hear, he got the exact same treatment that Ben Fields got here. He went to Harlan. Allegedly, they made him a trustee, and that he had the run of the place. He could do what he pretty much pleased. They've got your backs in these jails. It ain't like it is in the city. They don't put them in no PC. They ain't got no protective custody here. If they want to put you in PC here, you get your own place. You get your own drunk tank. Oh, you get treated like a king. Unless you're one of the women. Then they keep you in the dungeon. I'm telling you. There ain't no way. You can't call it a brothel. Because they don't have the freedom. They're being coerced into that. We all know it's in all their trainings. It's in all their policy books. It's in all their procedures. You don't touch a member of the opposite schmex in any kind of schmexual way. You don't do it. Like, that is one of the biggest and most well-known universal, like that's a universal rule in just about all jobs and positions. You can't do that. You know, you can't be in authority over somebody. It's no different than a teacher and a student, a doctor or a nurse and a student. You know, we've got doctors here that have been really doing some sick stuff. Talk to some of our girls, female patients around here. I could say something right now, but I won't. I'll keep it to myself. But it's been going on a long time. And it's wrong. There's a lot of wrong going on. But even if you told it, nothing would be done. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Okay. He testified that it was not until he began his investigation of the crime scene that Don Deskins' physical injuries were found. He testified that it was not until he began his investigation, of the crime scene that the physical injuries were found. Thompson also testified that the child said Kyle and Don Deskins argued a good, healthy amount. You don't realize the damage you're doing to your kids when you do that in front of them all the time. By the way. However, in recorded testimony, the child said his parents did not argue much and that he could not remember the last argument they had. Well, that's an awful big contradiction. The state also called 2 medical experts to discuss the results of the autopsy performed on Don Deskins, both of whom advocate varying opinions on the cause of death. And going back to that kid, Thompson also testified that the child said Kyle and Don Deskins argued. So the kid didn't say it twice. You've got the investigator saying the kid said it. And then later on, the kid himself testifies and says, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. They didn't argue. Well, what does that mean? Could the detective have been wrong? Whether accidentally or intentionally? Happens a lot. Either way, take your pick. The state also called 2 medical experts to discuss the results of the autopsy performed on Don Deskins, both of whom advocate varying opinions on the cause of death. Both of whom advocate varying opinions. Assistant State Medical Examiner Dr. Donna Stewart, who performed the autopsy, said the cause of death was blunt force trauma and believes it could have been the result of a standing fall. Dr. William Schmock disagreed with Stewart. Schmock, who concluded Don Deskins' death was a homicide, based his findings after reviewing Stewart's autopsy report and other crime scene evidence he was given. Based on the totality of the evidence, so would that have been reports by the police, by the investigators? Would he, with the help of the rest of that evidence, get the idea of the way that they wanted them to rule? You think that don't happen? Peer pressure? Want to be accepted by the cool kids? Why did Judge Hall give $500,000 to somebody a year for 10 years? And now he's the one's on the hook for it. He's the one's going to have to pay it all back. What'd he do it for? For nothing? For no reason? He didn't get nothing out of it? It didn't benefit him at all? Believe that if you want to. Based on the totality of the evidence, I believe she died of blunt force trauma with evidence that she was suffocated, he testified, with the pattern of injuries, bleeding inside the brain, pattern imprint injuries, and severe trauma to the head. This is not a fall. Schmock said Don Deskins suffered about a dozen different injuries to her face, head, and neck. However, Stewart said all of the injuries were on the same side of the head and face, which indicates to her they occurred with the same event and the same hand. The 2 experts also disagreed on the cause of the fracture in Don Deskins' neck vertebrae. Stewart believes it was the result of a hyperextension of the neck during a possible fall. Schmock contends it was caused by pressure to the neck while being strangled. Owens also used testimony by Stewart as part of his defense for Kyle Deskins on July 10th and planned to call former medical examiner Dr. John Hunsucker, who is expected to confirm Stewart's opinion and to refute Schmock to the witness stand on Friday morning. Stewart, in her testimony for the defense, said she had specifically checked areas around the mouth and nose which are the injuries. Smock claims proves strangulation and did not find any wounds. I looked for an injury but could not uncover one, she said in a recorded deposition. She also said that because of the complexity of determining an official cause of death, she had her findings at the time of the autopsy reviewed by the state's chief medical examiner. We don't have enough evidence to call this a homicide, Stewart testified. I have nothing. Both Skeens and Owens presented several witnesses during the week, with Skeens resting the case for the Commonwealth following Smock's testimony. Owens also called Don Deskins' mother, Devin Thacker, who testified live via Zoom from a hospital room. Thacker said she had lived with the couple for 9 months and they had a good relationship. Kyle was always good to my daughter, too good, she said. I told him to stop being so good to her. I do not believe for a second that he hurt her. Skeens refuted Thacker's testimony, asking her if she and her daughter had been estranged and that she did not have firsthand evidence of what was taking place in the residence for several months before Don Deskins' death. So the prosecutor is going after her mommy because her mommy thinks he's innocent. Thacker confirmed that statement, saying she and her daughter argued over Don Deskins' boyfriend and that she begged her daughter to leave the boyfriend. I loved my baby and she was my world, Thacker said. Kyle did not unalive my daughter. The trial was set to resume July 12th. Now it's getting ready. This new trial is getting ready to start. I forget what the date was on it. There is he filed a motion saying that he thought that the indictment should be thrown out because he wasn't given a chance to present any evidence at the grand jury. And he had told the prosecutor that he wanted to come and speak to the grand jury, and that according to the Supreme Court, they have to at least, the way that I read it and understood it, the prosecutor has to at least inform the grand jury that he wanted to do that. He wanted to speak to them. Now, they could have chosen either way. It was up to the grand jury. The grand jury is allowed to either deny or accept or approve them to come in. So they didn't have to hear him, but they had to have been given the choice. It was still denied. So they're getting ready to start a new trial. I doubt they'll televise it, so we probably won't be able to televise it. All right, let's see. Denise, wow, can't they come up with anything better than that for all your area women? Twitchy Bear asked Turtle Boy. They went after him. Yep, they went after him with felonies. There for a while, I was a little bit concerned, but I'm not so much anymore because I think it's just a kangaroo court. I think all this stuff that's been going on, this is a kangaroo court, buddy. See you later. Yeah, the Brian Dameron case. So he was a supervising deputy under Danny Webb in our Letcher County Sheriff's Department several years ago. I don't know what initiated that investigation, but they ended up charging him with taking stuff out of the evidence locker. It's like pews were missing. There was all kinds of money and rugs and evidence that kept systematically getting missing, kept coming up missing. Jess Brown, and thank you. Hit that like button for us, y'all. Bartley, who was assigned to the case after Letcher Commonwealth's attorney Edison G. Banks stepped aside, told Judge Harris he will oppose all forms of probation or early release. And then he ended up getting out less than a year. He served a year. That was it. If we're still talking about Dameron. As bad as it got for women around there going to jail. I'm just waiting to hear that woman identified as a cat. Well, and Miss Terry, what has happened with the retired state police teacher that had 2 counties with charges of SMECs with minors? He was supposed to either make a deal or start trials in those counties. Not heard a word. Not heard a word. That stuff gets delayed. It gets postponed and delayed. And then you don't never really hear nothing else about it. So many cases, they might put out a big story and then there's never really an update to let you know what the outcome of it was. Doctors are sick, and if they are working in Eastern Kentucky, it's because they can't work anywhere else. Sorry, but that's the truth. Well, I know that does happen. I know that is, you either have that or you have people that are from here that wanted to stay here. We have several of those. My doctor's like that. She's got offices in other areas too, but she's just an old hillbilly doctor, buddy. They ain't nothing fancy pants about her. She's amazing. Old school, old school, old school. But she is probably the only one that I know that still does home visits, like for her elderly patients who are sick and can't get out and it's too hard on them. She does home visits still. She's an amazing lady. I love her. Put your seatbelt on, pay your taxes, shut up, and has been American Burger King Nation. There's a fairly new OBGYN at Hazard you don't want to go to. Well, thanks, Miss Deborah. Got fired from Baptist Health in Lexington and Clark City Hospital, or Clark County Hospital. Absolutely. Do you know who instituted the in-chamber camera to be installed? Yes, it was AOC. That's the administration of the courts. So it was the state. And apparently it was a live feed that was sent back to AOC. Now, it probably, I very seriously doubt it was ever monitored. But it said somewhere, it was in an article that we read, or one of the stories said that it, or one of the it might have even been a testimony in one of those things, but it was a live feed. It said it was a live feed. So that was interesting. Didn't know that before. He claimed to be part of the firm, got paid $500,000. Attorney A received about the same in salary and benefits. Yep. And that was a year. And he got hired like over 10 years ago. If she was in bed when her son found her, there's no way she fell. Kind of hard to fall into your bed. I don't think it told if they found her in the bed or on the floor. I don't think it said any of that, those details. Hyoid bone fractures are frequently associated with manual strangulation, with about 34% of victims showing fractured hyoid bones. Yep. That's one of their telltale signs that they can see if that bone right there is broken. And I've seen lots of x-rays and stuff that they evidence in other cases, and they can be broken like on the sides. There's several places that they can be broken, but if they're broken, you can actually, I remember one that I was looking at, and you could just tell the way that it was broken. You could tell that that's what had happened. It was the AOC, the Administration of the Courts for Kentucky. That's who put the camera in. And it was put in the judge's chambers after Ben pled guilty to the criminal charges. And remember, he only pled guilty to one set of charges for one victim. Jennifer Hill, he was charged with 2, but she died before he took the plea. So whenever she died, half of his charges went away, or half of the counts went away. I do not think anything is coincidence. But he's not the only one who feels untouchable. I believe there's several who cover for one another. Money truly, I'd be the root of all evil. Fields wasn't part of the big guys club. They paid him off. Well, it could absolutely be. Gave his wife a better job and had her right there where they could watch and listen and see everything that was going on. They were able to influence everything and everybody. Did you hear about Dr. John Strauss? No, I have not. Hi, Boomer. I like that old beard, buddy. UK has the closest SANE, sane nurse. They failed to even notify the crisis center, law, and first action to take. Lexington police. Well, I'm sorry. I know it's awful. See, bite my bits. I've also heard if you can get ladies that work in these government offices to advocate for ST, it's a DL way to tell men this is no longer acceptable, which of course is what hillbillies do. ST, it's a DL. I'm old. Tell me what those mean. Look it up, girl. There are no live security feeds sent back to AOC. They are recorded to on-site DVD. Well, that's what Boomer says. There are no live security feeds sent back to AOC. Well, so we've heard both ways now. So who knows? Who knows? Boomer might be right, because I tell you what, the video, I had the audio that night. I had the audio. Somebody had sent me the audio of the pew pew to my phone that night. Whenever, and I was one of the last ones to get it. Whenever we went to the courthouse, we went down there that night after the pew pew, and we went to the bar. There were people down there that already had it. And they had it by the time we got there, which was what, 2-3 hours maybe after it had happened. I think we got down there about 5. So that was a couple hours after it happened. So that might be, it might be right down there. But I know it was circulating. That audio was circulating. And they obviously had the video, because the networks showed it pretty quick after that. Let's see. It didn't show the pew pew, but it showed some of it. I guess the first time we actually saw what happened in the chambers was in that hearing, wasn't it? I don't have the audio of that room. The audio that was going around, it kind of sounds like it was from one of the, maybe the clerk's office, or maybe the courtroom. Could have even been the courtroom's audio, because all of that stuff's recorded. And you hear the pew pews. There was a couple channels right after the pew pew happened that was circulating a video that had the bangs, and then it had like some screaming and a couple other things added into it. That wasn't real. Somebody had taken the actual audio of the bangs, because that's all you hear. You hear some commotion, but it's not like you're not like right there. You hear the commotion in the distance, like people screaming and stuff in response to the pew pew. But that audio, it probably was from the courtroom. And you can hear 8 bangs, one right after the other. But the one that was going around on some of those YouTube channels was fake. They had added the screen, I mean, you can hear the commotion in the background, but you don't hear Judge Mullins is screaming, and you don't hear Mickey is screaming. You don't hear any of that. That's the one that I listened to was fake. But the one that I've got is just of the bangs, and it's the original. But with YouTube and some of these other channels, I don't really know what I'm allowed to show or share and what I'm not when it comes to stuff like that. So we might put it up on the Patreon. I think I could probably put it in my Patreon. So I need to do some more work on it. Yeah, somebody asked me the other day if I would mention so let me go back and see what she wanted me to say. She asked me if I would mention something about the embezzlement, of course. Oh, she said, will you please do me a favor and on your show say something about the Irvert pays in Whitesburg? You know, we really do have a problem with sexual harassment and just improper behavior in the workplace. But you don't have a big population of people here in this area that even, I think, that even know anything about civil rights, human rights, policies that are written just for these kinds of things. It's become so accepted and forgiven, basically. You know, Sabrina, in her interview, said she felt bad for Ben's wife. She felt really bad for Ben. She didn't want to get Ben into any trouble. He pretended to be her friend. He pretended to be her helper. You know, like he was really doing stuff to help her. Same thing. Pimping her out to his Uncle Bill, but yet framing it like he can help you with your charges. And once they've propositioned these women and they've got this trade, this negotiated trade worked out, and the women have gotten themselves into a survival mode. I mean, who really cares that they're taking him up on it? You know, like, I don't judge them. The first thing in my mind isn't like old Matt Easter. Oh, you saw an opportunity, didn't you? You saw a vulnerable man and you took advantage of that opportunity, didn't you? She only did what she had to do to survive and stay out of jail, stay out of the dungeon. And where are you going to go? You're either going to go to house arrest with Ben, back to the jail with his wife, or rehab with the preacher. So that just adds a whole other element to all of this. Oh, yeah. The higher ups, there's video. And I don't know how you can get up on a stage and preach God and preach redemption and speak the name of sweet, precious Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and then go send videos like that to women that ain't your wife. Oh, but no, we're going to get pardons from the governor. We're going to get these big jobs. We're going to buy us a house. We're going to drive a big fancy car. Big old bright color so everybody can see us coming. Ought to be ashamed of themselves. Every single one of them ought to be ashamed of themselves. My son just said, mm-hmm. That's right, Bug Man. The most powerful name in the whole world. That's right. That's right. Todd, is it true Ben's wife used to go into his cell at night? It wasn't just nighttime. She was allowed to go in there from what has been reported by former employees who worked there. It ain't coming from inmates. It's former employees, co-workers, and other people who worked close by. She was allowed to go in there whenever she wanted. There wasn't no rules. There wasn't no rules. Yep. Christy, first of all, they have to know it's wrong before they recognize enough to feel shame. That's true. That's true. Nancy, these women were probably afraid of being unalived if they didn't cooperate. Now, enter Mickey Steins. I've completely revised my thought process on that entire case. Thank you, Miss Shelley. If Mickey, think about it, Mickey was with the preacher right before the pew-pew. So if Mickey's out with the preacher and all of these people have their own secrets to hide. They've all got their own reasons that they don't want Mickey to talk. They're not covering for each other. They're covering for their own selves. We don't know what each one of these people had said to Mickey or said behind Mickey's back. I've always heard that is just the den of iniquity down there. It's nothing but gossip and talking behind each other's backs. Like snake, they'll eat their own young down there. I've always heard that. I always thought it was like an exaggeration. Oh, no. There ain't no exaggerating that. These people will eat their own young. They thought they had it contained with Ben taking the plea. I mean, the civil suit was started first. The civil suit is what initiated the criminal charges against Ben. And, I would love to know more about Jennifer Hill's passing. Surely to God, they did a talk screen. Surely to God, they did an autopsy on her. But it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. Thank you, Miss Shelley. Would not surprise me one bit if they didn't. But I would really like to know. And then you've got all these women. What about the Deathridge and Roberts? The mommy and the daughter, who were both unalived, who are still unsolved. What did they know? What did Deathridge know? And who did she know it on? to get pew-pewed in the back of the head and threw over a hill. And then when her mommy won't stop digging and won't stop looking for answers, she ends up on the side of the road where it looks to me like she got pulled over by a cop. That's what it looked. The way that it was described to me, it made me think, could she have been pulled over by a policeman? Could she have been blue lighted and pulled over and gotten out of her car? She sure could have. She had groceries in her back seat. They found her with same thing in the head. Did she get too close? Was it like it looks just like Tommy Ballard, Crystal Rogers, and her daddy, Tommy Ballard? Tommy wouldn't stop. He wouldn't stop pushing. He kept looking and he kept looking and he kept looking. See you later. Why did her house keep getting broke into after her passing? Exactly. Her mommy reported it. At least she said it in the newspaper or on Facebook that she reported it. She said they keep breaking in like they're looking for something. Did they find it? Did they ever find it? Or did they just silence her mommy too? And then everybody just backed up. You might get a newspaper article that mentions it once a year. But there ain't no answers to it. There ain't no answers. You've got the third death over there too, an elderly woman. And if you even ask any questions about it, they all just go completely ape turd nuts over it. Well, if there's no answers, it's not been solved. You don't want nobody asking no questions. I mean, you ain't gonna like me for me to ask and wonder about an unsolved red rum in our area. Like that's none of our business. Okay. Jesus loves you. Okay? If you search, there's preachers all over the country being arrested and exposed. You got that right. Every lie will be revealed. Keep the faith. The Bible says that many will come in my name, whom I did not send. There's a lot of people go around preaching the name of Jesus, but they're actually shaking the tallywhacker somewhere. This stuff does not mix. It don't mix. It's the same thing I said. How can you have somebody in such and trust? How can you trust somebody that you really, the way that they do their job is that they really need to have integrity, because you have to be able to trust this person's word. You have to be able to trust their intentions. You have to be able to trust that they're going to do the right thing when nobody is looking. Those are the characteristics that we want in an elected prosecutor. That's what we want in a prosecutor. Now, a lot of times in these elections, we don't know. A lot of times, the only thing people know is the name when they go in to actually vote. You don't get to see their resume unless you ask them. And they ain't trying to talk to nobody like little old me or you. No, they want to talk to the business owners. They want to talk to the school superintendents and the principals and the ball coaches, and so they can, how is somebody like me gonna scratch their back? I can't give them no money. Sure ain't giving them nothing else. They don't want to spend no time. They don't want to waste no time on somebody like me. Not even a 5-minute conversation. They don't care what I think. They don't care about my vote. That old prosecutor that got on Facebook and did that big Facebook mess. Well, he got on there afterwards, after the very initial one, the first one. Do you know how many people's come up to me just this past week and said, I mean, they're so, like, he didn't do nothing but pew himself right in the foot. Well, he said, I couldn't believe he said he didn't care about nobody's vote. He don't want your vote. If you're friends with me, he don't want your vote. Don't vote for him. Because he don't want it. Vote him right on out of there, I tell you. It's exactly what we need to do. Who's gonna run against him? And that's bad. That's sad, ain't it? That's so sad. He ought to be removed. You shouldn't even be beating him at the election for the crap that he pulled. His code of ethics, his code of conduct, he violated them all to pieces. But who's gonna discipline him? Nobody. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing. Public opinion, court of public opinion is the only thing that's gonna help around here. Well, I've not seen any documentation. All we've seen about Jennifer Hill's OD is in a newspaper article. It was reported that way. I've not seen her autopsy. I've not seen a cause of death. I've not seen nothing. I don't know where we'd even find those at, but Twitchy Bear, bet she was fed Fanny. And if she was, how would anybody ever know? How they use their informants. Would it be very hard to pay somebody to give somebody a hot shot? I bet it happens all the time. All around the world, not just here. Butterfly kisses. I've always said he's no preacher. He's disgusting. God's gonna get that man. Jenny Gibson, sick and disgusting. And most of us feel this way. Most of us feel this way. Just like the ones that said they unfriended me because they was afraid they'd get their probation and parole revoked. Same thing. Same reason why they're still smiling in his face. And then call me. People, I'm telling you. It sounds just like Belmont, Mississippi. Tishomingo. Tishomingo? Is that right? County. All right, guys. We'll go ahead and leave this one here. Donna, file a FOIA on employee who was paid as an assistant attorney. I already know who it was. but I can't say it. I already know. Just can't tell it. Not yet, anyway. Or at least I think I know. I've been told who it was. You're the only one who got the K. Great. Oh, yeah. I knew exactly what that was. Bet you can report him to the judicial board. Oh, yeah, I've already reported him. I've already started. Feels weird that Mickey was a family friend for so long, finding this all out. Well, I feel sorry for Mickey because, there's just no way. I don't believe that he didn't know what was going on. I totally believe he knew what other people were doing. I don't think they hid it. I don't think they hid it from anybody, any of their circle. I think it was accepted. I think it was probably like a game. It was probably like they probably egged each other on, like probably even a competition thing. I mean, I'm just assuming, of course. And it's just my opinion. But that's how a lot of that kind of stuff works. It's how that stuff happens usually. From my experience anyway. And even if Mickey was doing bad stuff to himself, that even gives more credence to the fear factor and the threats. What happens, and we all know, they all know especially, you start putting pressure on somebody, what happens? They roll. You put enough pressure on them, listen, it don't happen very often that they clam up and refuse to rat their buddies out. Snitches get stitches is only in the movies. And it might be for hardcore hillbillies, okay? But now, these spoiled, arrogant people who've never been arrested a day in their life, they're used to being the law, not having to fear the law. They've never been in the hot seat. They've never been interrogated. They've never been fearful of going to jail. They've never been questioned in a way, in an investigative way. How many you think are going to cave? How many times do you guys watch interrogations, police interrogations? Because I watch them all the time. All the time. Most of them start out fibbing and not telling the truth, but by the end of it, if they don't know to lawyer up, they usually cave. They usually tell, and they tell everything that they know. Now you've got the other people who, like we saw in the big rapper trial this past year, they gave like 10, 20 people plea deals based on all lies. Like, those people were career criminals. They had grew up in the hood. They were used to committing crimes, and they played these stupid cops against themselves and each other, telling them lies, lying, feeding them all this BS to get out of trouble. Every man for themselves. There's a lot of backstabbing and disloyalty when you're facing 50 years in prison. You think all these people weren't terrified that Mickey was going to tell on them to get out of trouble? That's why they sent old DD with him. That's what I think, anyway. I don't think DD was there for any other reason other than being a watchdog. He was the babysitter. He was there to make sure he didn't say the wrong thing. At least that's what I think. You think that wasn't intimidating to Mickey? Of course it was. It had to be. Had to be. But remember, look over here, because I'm not doing anything with this hand. Look over here. Getting a little crazy. But that's what they do. Don't pay no attention to what I'm doing over here. Look, 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 look. Around here, politicians go door to door. They do here. Usually. Death certificates are public records. Good to know. We'll have to try and get a hold of her death certificate and see what it says. The entire judicial system is fraud. Well, it feels like it's really turning that way. I mean, it's sad. You know, it's really, really sad. Now, let's everybody be nice in our chat. We have the best chat in YouTube. In Indiana, autopsy reports are public record. The photos and things may not be, but the actual report is. You should check. I will. I absolutely will. Sheesh. Crystal, you know what to do, girl, about that ugliness. Oh, Bug. This world has lost its ever-loving mind. My 84-year-old blind mom has to take a pee test at her pain doctor. Mind-numbing. Yeah. They put all the regulations on us and let the doctors and, you know, anybody else that's going to make some money off of it. They set it up to where they can ask forgiveness and not permission. I know that trick too. It's better to ask forgiveness than it is for permission, man. Good night, butterfly kisses. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and end this tonight. And we'll see you tomorrow. I think tomorrow is only a half day for our trial watch. So 9 a.m. we start with our trial watch. And then tomorrow evening, we've got another big show. We are going to look at what an oath is, who takes an oath, and what they say. And we got some other stuff too. Good stuff to talk about. And I will see you all tomorrow. I'm so slow that I couldn't do Snapchat. Yes, Boomer. Awesome. Sure would like to see this channel grow. Well, honey, we're growing by leaps and bounds every day. Y'all just keep coming back and keep watching. We are making and building a community, building a brand. Sheriffs have a lot of discretion and control of funds coming and going. Yep. Denise, they sent Dee Dee to warn Mickey to behave and keep his mouth shut. Think so too. Me standing up got me nothing but my name is case law. Bates versus Harvey, Georgia Supreme Court. If anyone wants a pointless read. Thank you, honey. Absolutely. I know. It's heartbreaking that, we go through such trauma, because that's what it is. You get in this system and become a victim of what a lawyer can do to you, or judge, or police officer, social workers. It's a traumatizing event that a lot of people don't never recover from. You're lucky if you get out of it. And once you get into the system, you can't get out. It's like they've done got you. They've done got your number. They've done got your name. And they're going to be watching for you every time you come into town. They're going to look for you anytime you come back in front of them. There's a whole lot of accusations being made about this district court, and that they've been going on for a long time. These things have been going on for a long time. I also have a personal account. One woman's story that we're going to read and talk about this week. And it's scary. And it's about one of those people right there on that screen. We're going to hear. And maybe more people will come forward anonymously. Because this platform gives us that ability. It just goes through me. But we'll tell the stories. All right, guys. Well, Lord, we are so thankful for the opportunity to be able to come together tonight once again. Thank you for giving us the ability to wake up this morning, Lord. I thank you for all the blessings that you give us. Lord, so many people out there can't see. They're blind. They can't hear. They're deaf. They can't feel. They've got things wrong with them. They're numb. We've got brokenness. We've got desperation. And only you can heal all that, Lord. Your word says that all we have to do is just try and touch the hem of your garment, and we shall be healed. Lord, all you have to do is speak the word only, and we shall be healed. That's how much faith we have in you, Lord, is that all you have to do is speak the word only, and we shall be healed. I speak the name of Jesus, Lord. I speak healing over our brothers and sisters who are desperately needing a touch from you, Lord. We pray for all of those who are suffering, all of those who are struggling, whether it be physically, emotionally, or spiritually, Lord. But we pray that you'll heal the spiritual first, because that is the most important. Anything of this world is going to fade away. It'll all be corruptible and will turn to dust. I thank you for saving my soul, Lord. I pray that you forgive me for my sins. I pray that you have mercy on me, Lord, and that you show me the way. I pray that you guide me, Lord, with your direction, and that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Oh, Lord, I praise you, I worship you, and I just lift your name up in honor and in praise. And until we get to meet again, Lord, protect us and go before us. And let us wake up in the morning. In Jesus' name, amen. I love that weatherman. He goes, amen. Y'all know him? Weatherman Plus. Look him up. He reads the scripture after every show. He is awesome. I love Weatherman Plus. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no